Good day, everyone. So for today, we are going to continue the topic that we have for concept of peace. So we have already discussed concept of peace studies, a historical sketch, the definition of peace, reasons of peace education, as well as we have already discussed the concept of peace from 1913 to present. So it is actually where it was a topic that we had last meeting. Now, in continuation with the topic for concept of peace, we are now going to discuss this building peace in war-torn society. So number one here, we have what we call rehabilitation. So this is the place between short to medium construction activities and also in activities in the field of demobilization, disarmament, and reintegration, institutional and political form. So basically, class, in rehabilitation for those societies that was in between war or they have experienced war, diba? So we are in a part of that rehabilitation is that we are going to restore that society's normal life, diba? Or after the occurrence of war. Now we have this what we call Marshall Plan, which is also known as the European Recovery Program in 1947. So this was introduced by the American Secretary of State, George C. Marshall, kung saan, 'di ba, nakuha yung this program na Marshall Plan. Now, it aimed to provide economic assistance to restore the economic infrastructure of post-war Europe following the devastation of World War II. So basically, etong sa Marshall Plan, what its aim is, 'di ba, to provide economic assistance. Kasi 'di ba, normally class, what would happen to a certain society if in case, 'di ba, it experience or it undergoes what we call war, 'di ba? So normally there are destructions, damages in terms of their mga belongings, as well as one of the things that will really be kanang matamaan siya or will be hit is the economy. So with the help of this or with the introduction of Marshall Plan, now for those countries, 'di ba, who have experienced this what we call post-war in Europe, 'di ba, as well as those who have been devastated by World War II, so now they will be provided by some economic assistance. So now in 1948, the program provided $12 billion to help finance rebuilding efforts on the continent. European countries experienced a rise in the gross national product during this year. So which is the effect class of the Marshall Plan, di ba? So the moment that they have provided economic assistance, so what they did is that they used that money, di ba, to rebuild their economy. So which is why the effect of that when they were able to rebuild it, diba, is the rise in the gross national product. When we talk about gross national product, so that is the total market value of the final goods and services produced by a nation's economy during a specific period of time. Usually it is a year. So diba, because of that money that was provided to them, diba, they were diba, to finance the rebuilding efforts on their economy and those continents affected by this war. So now, di ba, they are already gaining. Di ba? They have already rise in the gross national product. Now, the next one is that the linking relief and development. So we have this what we call relief. So this is provision of primary goods such as food, shelter, medications, and clothes. So basically, these are the people's primary needs. So, di ba, for example, class, if you have, let's say, sa mga typhoons, di ba, if there are those societies or communities hit by different, let's say, mga typhoon, di ba, normally, what the government will supply them are mga relief goods. So, this is what we call relief. So, normally, those basic and the primary needs, di ba, of the people. So, the food, shelter, medications, and clothes. Next is that we have this development. So, points to the long-term directed at structurally changing the socio-economic and political institution in order to decrease vulnerability. So, it means that when we talk about development, is that we are going to develop it, diba? There are going to be changes. There is what we call process of developing or being developed. Most especially for those societies, diba? Mga war-torn societies, there's really a lot of things there na damage. There were a lot of things that has been destroyed, diba? There's destruction that had happened. So now, in terms of the development, we are going to start, diba? Something new. We're going to develop again, diba? So we're going to create growth in that certain society. This is a positive change. Now, linear model of relief and development, that is a relief which aid as assistance for survival and development assistance that would start after a conflict was over. So basically, di ba, once a conflict or let's say a war has ended, now this linear model of relief and development, so what's going to happen is that they will be the people, di ba, who have been affected by this conflict or war, they will be provided by an assistance, which is both for survival and development. Kasi nga, again, di ba, as mentioned, after, di ba, yung mga effects or aftermath of this, what we call conflict or war, di ba, there will be destruction, there will be a lot of damages, di ba, not especially, let's say, to the economy, to the lives of the people. Where are they going to get their what you call this, those mga primary needs of the people? So now, through this linear model of relief and development, they will be given, diba, some assistance so that they will be able to survive, diba, after the conflict has been over. Kasi most of them really doesn't know as to where they are going to start. Next is that the continuum model of relief and development. So this was developed in 1980 to bridge the gap between relief and development activities, because there are certain instances, di ba, na there is really a gap between relief and the development. Now, the purpose of this continuum model is that whatever gaps has been identified, so now they are going to bridge it so that, di ba, we can already link relief and development activities as one. Now we have here the concept of peace building. So Secretary General Boutros Ghali, he conceptualized peace building through peacemaking and peace building in his article Agenda for Peace. So now we are discussing, or we are going to discuss, what is the concept of peace building? How do we build peace? So now, class, in the next slide, we are going to watch a video. So this is about distinguishing peacekeeping, peacemaking, and peace building with one another. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So since it won't play here, what we are going to do is that I will just send you a link for this one about the difference between peacekeeping, peacemaking, and peace building, so that you will better understand what is the difference between these three. Okay, so now let's move on our topic. So as you can see, we are now going to discuss about peace building. So when we say peace building, this is a long-term political, economic, and social provision to address the causes of conflict. So basically, class, diba, this is a long-term plan. Diba? So it means that we are not only trying to address the causes of conflicts, but as well at present, but as well as we are already looking forward, diba, to addressing it in the future as well. So that is a long-term plan. Hindi siya katulad ng parang short-term lang that will happen in a certain period of time. So when we say it's long-term, di ba? It's going to occur to a long period of time. So dili lang siya, let's say, will take within this year, within a year, or what. So it means that it is going to be it's going to persist up until, di ba, to the future generation. Now, the United Nations Security Council in 1992 recommended for resolution of conflict. Diba, how we are going to resolve conflict. Number one, we have what we call preventive diplomacy. So when we say preventive diplomacy, that is an action to prevent disputed from arising parties, to prevent existing disputes from escalating into conflicts, and to limit the spread of these conflicts when it occurs. So basically, class, it talks about, di ba, prevention. Before it happens, di ba, before this conflict will occur, we are now going to prevent it through what we call diplomacy. So when we say naman, class, na diplomacy, it talks about what we call this. So it talks about an activity, 'di ba? In managing that relation with other society, or let's say kanang society or community that has a conflict with the other state or society. So now when we talk about preventive diplomacy, so we are now going to engage, 'di ba, with the other party. We are now going to prevent those disputes, diba, or those existing disputes from escalating, or let's say it will turn into conflict. So let's say there is a misunderstanding. So most probably for them to be able not to end up with having conflict, or let's say, or will end up causing war. So now they are going to take an action to it, diba? So they are going to prevent it from happening. Now, number two, we have this what we call peacekeeping. So for peacekeeping, these are the actions to bring hostile parties to agreement, essentially through such peaceful means as those foreseen. So what we are going to do here is that in peacemaking, we're now going to make an agreement. Let's say, for example, this one party is has conflict, di ba? Has a misunderstanding, or they have something that they are not in agreement with. Now they are going to, di ba? We are going to bring, di ba? Dalahon nato sila ang duha ka party. It could either be we are going to sit down, di ba, with the other party, di ba? Or those two parties are going to sit down, and then they are going to negotiate. They're going to discuss it. So now what they are going to do is that, di ba, through peaceful means, they are now going to discuss that they are now going to discuss that conflict, or that, let's say, that misunderstanding, so that it will no longer cause any conflict, or let's say would lead to let's say war, for example. So they are going to make an agreement, di ba, how they are going to address it. So that is what we call peacemaking. Now, for peacekeeping, the deployment of a United Nations presence in the field, thereto with the consent of all the parties concerned, which involve United Nations military and or police personnel, and frequently civilians. So what we are going to do in peacekeeping, basically it is about, we're simply keeping the peace. Diba? Let's say, for example, to avoid further conflict, let's say, or anything which will escalate it, diba, which would bring, let's say, they are in conflict, diba, with another party or another state. So to avoid that, class, diba, or let's say, for example, for us to be able, diba, nga, to really guarantee that we will be able to keep peace. So what they do is that they are going to deploy a someone coming from the United Nations. So they are going to place someone there, diba? There will be a presence of those people coming from the United Nations, but it will have a consent of all the parties concerned, which involve United Nations military, police personnel, and let's say frequently civilians. Diba? Most of those people being deployed, diba, to become the presence, parang naay presence of United Nations in those countries or in those societies are mga civilians. So that is what we call peacekeeping. We are deploying a people, or a people there, diba, in a certain one party, but it must have a consent of all the parties involved or concerned before we can be able to deploy someone coming from the United Nations. Lastly, class, is that post-conflict peace building. So an action to identify and support structure that will tend to strengthen and solidify peace in order to avoid a relapse into conflict. So basically, for example, what this actually means is that right after, di ba, post-conflict, there is a conflict has already occurred, di ba, nanay nahitabo na conflict. So now, what we are going to do is that for post-conflict peace building, we are now going to identify, di ba, and support, di ba, the support structure that will tend to strengthen and solidify peace. Kasi nga, di ba, the conflict has already ended. Nahuman na siya. Now, how we are going to solidify, how we are going to strengthen the peace that we have, di ba? How we are going to build peace after post-conflict. Kasi what we are trying to avoid here for post-conflict peace building is the relapse into conflict. Mubalik na pod. Di ba? For example, two parties, they have already nahumana. Di ba? They are no longer in conflict with one another. So now what we are going to do is that are we going to strengthen and solidify that peace, di ba, na nahuman naman ilahang conflict. So it means that they are already at peace with each other. So now, how are we going to strengthen and solidify it? Now, what we are going to do is that through taking some actions, we are now going to identify and support whatever structure that we have for us to be able to make sure nga that peace that we were able to achieve, diba, after the conflict experienced by both parties will not, diba, will not happen again. Dili siya mag-relapse, dili siya mubalik na pod nga magka-conflict na pod sila. So that is what we have for post-conflict peace building. Now, next is Dr. Jose Rizal in 1989. He has this peace dimension and peace building as three aspects. So number one, we have substantive peace. So this is peace should be based on justice, and peace is also the absence of war, which is we have already discussed in the concept of peace, wherein they have defined peace as well as the absence of war. Kasi diba, if there's no war, it means that we are at peace with one another or with those other countries. Food and freedom, jobs, justice, land, and deliberation. Now we have the second one aspect of peace building is that processual peace. So give peace a chance. So it is working a viable alternatives to war. So through a peaceful political dialogue and negotiation without weakening the commitment of resolving the fundamental issue. So this already involves some negotiation, dialogue, let's say peace talks, for us to be able to work on, diba, a viable alternatives to war rather than us going into war with other different parties, other countries. So we are now going to talk about something, diba? We're going to have a negotiation or dialogue. Now, last is the personal peace. This is the peace of the heart. Peace of the heart is the heart of peace. So, personal conversion must occur with social transportation. A holistic approach to social change is through structural change in culture values by changing oneself. So again, class, diba, I have also mentioned that there are actually a lot of definition, meaning when we talk about peace. Then one of which is that the personal peace. Diba? Before we can be able, diba, to have that social change, we must be able to change first ourselves. Dapat within ourselves, we have this what we call personal peace. We, with ourselves, we are at peace. Diba? Because we cannot reflect it, we cannot mirror it, diba, in our society if us or kita mismo, diba, we do not have that kind of peace na dapat naata. Ayun. The next class we have here is the objectives of peace building. Now for the objectives of peace building, number one, successful peace building of war-torn countries through a triple transition. So it means that, diba, for those countries that they were in between, or let's say nasira, diba, ng war. So this is, we have this what we call triple transition. Number one, security transition from war to peace. So we are now going to secure, diba? So, diba, coming from war, and then we're going to transition to, diba, to a peaceful environment, or let's say to a peaceful community or society. So we must be secure, diba? There should be security about it. Political transition from authoritarianism totalitarianism to a more participatory form of government. So ibig sabihin na, diba, from that authoritarianism type of government or totalitarianism, we are now going to transition to a participatory form of government. So ibig sabihin, class, that it is a government where people, diba, have the ability or has the freedom to participate compared to authoritarianism or totalitarianism, diba? We are only following one command, diba? We are only obeying one command, diba? So compared to this one, to a participatory form of government, everyone, di ba, their voices, di ba, they will have that opportunity to take part of, di ba, to take part of what is kanila si mga activities or actions, di ba, being or conducted by the government. Di ba, they have that freedom to participate and cooperate. Now, socio-economic transition, including the rebuilding of economic capacities through the movement from controlled economy to market economy. So, ibig sabihin, di ba, na from that controlled economy, wherein people doesn't have what we call this nga capability, di ba, kasi it is being controlled. Di ba, they don't have that capability na, let's say, if they want to sell something, if they want to produce or what, di ba, they cannot do it because the economy is being controlled. But now, di ba, if we were able to successfully through the successful peace building of those war-torn countries, now through this one, di ba, the socio-economic transition, we were now going to transition from a controlled economy to market economy, where people can now, di ba, can now be able to, let's say, sell their goods, their products without being controlled by the, let's say, for the government, di ba, their movement in terms of the products and the services, di ba, they are not being controlled. Diba? They have already that freedom. Now, number 3, of the second objective that we have is peace building activity, aims to transition from conflict to peace and the prevention of deterioration. So, ibig sabihin, di ba nga, that from coming from that situation where there is conflict, now we are going to transition to having peace, as well as we are going to prevent it from deterioration. Ibig sabihin, class, na we're going to prevent it na dili nato masustain or dili nato ma-retain ang peace, which would eventually, di ba, if you were not able to retain or sustain it, what's going to happen is that most probably there will be a relapse to conflict. So naaga mahitabo na mo balik ta, di ba, we will be in conflict or we will experience conflict. Now, peace-building strategies should prioritize those activities that aim at establishing institutions that reward moderation and encourage compromise among contending interests while being cautious of those donor-assisted activities that might spur violent conflicts. So, ibig sabihin, di ba, na we are now going to prioritize mga activities, di ba, which will establish institution and also encourage compromise among contending interests. Ibig sabihin, class, di ba, that we are going to, we have this what we call mga different strategies where we prioritize yung mga activities, di ba, that will be able to establish the institution. As well as one of the things in terms of the peace building strategy that we need to avoid are those, di ba, mga donor assisted activities. Ibig sabihin, those activities wherein there are donors, di ba? Let's say organization, people ba na siya, or a group of people, di ba? So that we will be able to avoid, di ba, that might spur violent conflict. So it will be a reason. So instead of us, di ba? Instead of us na kanang tawag ani oy, instead of us na will start this what we call violent conflict, we must be able to, or we must be cautious, di ba, we must be vigilant in terms of those donor assisted na mga activities, di ba. Let's say pag nasa mga donor, we must be cautious about it so that we will be able to avoid this, or di ba, or the occurrence, di ba, or will start the violent conflict. And another thing, class, in terms of this peace building strategy, it mentioned here that it aims to establishing institution. So it means that there will be what we call reward system, as well as we will be encouraged those strategies or those activities that we are going to conduct will encourage us compromise, at among contending interests. Let's say, for example, there are interests now which will vary, let's say, from one people to another, or group of people. So what we are going to do is that when we reach a compromise, when we compromise, it means that we will be able to agree or make an agreement, reach an agreement, or settle it, for both sides of, let's say, for example, for both parties. So these are some of those kaning what we call mga activities that is part for the peace building strategy. Next is now what we have is the government reform should include the following to achieve peace or build peace. So number one, comprises both the construction of government buildings and the development of conciliatory or peacemaking and effective administrative procedures that serves to create a culture of non-violent political discourse. So, ibig sabihin, what are those, di ba, mga government reforms or kanang mga, what we call this, reforma, di ba? Ano ba yung mga dapat baguhin, di ba, in a government, di ba? We need, what are those changes, di ba, in terms of this in the aspect of in the aspect of politics or in the political aspect, di ba? We need to make changes in order to improve it. Ano bang kailangan natin doon sa government? So which is number one, we're now going to construct, di ba, mga buildings. Next is that we are going to develop, di ba, conciliatory or peacemaking and effective administrative procedures. So, ibig sabihin is that a um a procedure in the government wherein, di ba, those in the administration, iba, they're going to develop that what they're called conciliatory. Ibig sabihin that they will have this what we call mga procedures wherein they can be able to achieve peace or reconcile, di ba? Conciliatory. Yun. Di ba? Are intended, di ba? Are likely to pacify something, di ba? So that those procedures that are effective, that serves to create a culture of non-violent political discourse so that we will be able to avoid mga violent na violent actions in terms of this what we call sa atoang politics or in the administration. Next is that bloated bureaucratic procedures and over-regulatory have to be cut down and the size of the political apparatus has to be diminished. So, ibig sabihin, class, di ba, katong what we call mga sobra-sobra, di ba, ng mga procedures and over-regulatory, so we need to cut it down, di ba? And the size of the political apparatus has to be diminished, di ba? So, it means that when we talk about political, di ba, apparatus. Ito yung tinatawag na so when we talk about mga government apparatus or political apparatus, these are those exercise of political authority over the actions, affairs, political unit, or people. Diba? So it is also as well as the performance of certain functions. So ibig sabihin, diba, we are going with, let's say for example, yung sobra-sobra, 'di ba? Sobra-sobra yung ating authority, 'di ba? Over those mga let's say affairs in the government, the actions that needs to be the actions in the government, 'di ba? So now we need to what we call this, to mga sobra-sobra, we need to cut it down or has to diminish yung mga political apparatus. 'Di ba? Yung mga different na mga machinery of the government, iba, organization of political party or underground movement. Yun yung natin kailangan i-diminish. A strategy of capacity-enhancing measures aim at enlarging and improving the capability, credibility, and legitimacy of political system, both within the government and among civil society organizations. So basically, class, diba, we are going to enhance the capacity of this government, diba, and among the civil organization. Diba? Their capability, their credibility, and the legitimacy of political system. Because again, what we are trying to make changes is the government. Diba? So of course, we need to improve the capability and credibility and legitimacy of political system so that we will be able to achieve peace or build peace. And lastly, class, we have here the phases of disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, or what we call DDR. So this number one, we have this what we call assembly. So when we talk about assembly, that is the act of resembling the ex-combatant in the area and provided with basic needs such as shelter, food, clothing, sanitation facilities, and healthcare. So, ibig sabihin, class, when we talk about who are those ex-combatants, so they are those combatants having been disarmed, demobilized, and registered, di ba, as such under the recipient's disarmament or the Militia Dismantlement Program. Or ibig sabihin, class, when we talk about mga ex-combatant, they are those, di ba, people who participated in the fighting in a war or let's say in a conflict and has decided not to take part anymore in the armed confrontation. So, ibig sabihin sila yung, let's say for example, sila yung mga tao na kasali, di ba, sa mga nakipaglaban doon sa, let's say, sa war. Ayun. So those are what we call ex-combatant. Now, in this phase of assembly, they are already what we call provided with the basic needs. Diba? So, those basic needs or the primary needs is the shelter, food, clothing, sanitation facilities, and health care. Next is, second to it is the discharge. So this is the act of discharging the soldiers in a short period of time and transport them home. So ibig sabihin, when we talk about discharging the soldiers, so they will be released from their obligation to serve. So ibig sabihin, di ba, for a short period of time. And then now they are going to be transported back to their homes. Then we have this what we call short-term reinsertion and long-term reinsertion. So, but before we discuss the short-term and long-term, we need to define, di ba, what do we mean about reinsertion? So, according to UN, it defines reinsertion as the assistance offered to those ex-combatants. So, ibig sabihin, di ba, katong mga, again, itong mga tao na, or those people who are involved in fighting war or in fighting conflict during demobilization, but prior to the long-term process of reintegration. So, as a form of transitional assistance to help cover the basic needs of ex-combatants and their families, which may include transitional safety allowance, food, clothes, shelter, medical services, short-term education, training, and employment needs. So, yun yung definition, class, ng reinsertion, that assistance being offered to those ex-combatants. Now, we have these two, the short-term and the long-term reinsertion. So, ano bang ibig sabihin natin ng short-term and long-term reinsertion? So, number one, we have this short-term. This phase entails assistance in the form of short-term food supplement, transport, and in some orientation in their homes and initial reinsertion benefits. So, ibig sabihin, for example, let's have yung food supplement. Kasi, di ba, it will last only for a short period of time. Di ba, it cannot, di ba, or let's say, it cannot happen, Jude, or let's say, class, na dili siya pwede na the food supplement, the transport, di ba, will happen for a longer period of time. At some point, di ba, they are going to produce those, di ba, those ex-combatants and their families at a point, or they will come to a point that they are going to supply their own food. Di ba, dili man pwede na they are going to rely sa government lang ng mga supplies, or let's say sa mga other organizations or kaning mga different na mga sa atong government or different groups, but they need to be able to have their own food supplies, di ba? Makaproduce sila, which is why in the long-term reinsertion, this is the phase should incorporate the veterans and their families into civilian society by making them financially independent, by enrolling them into income-generating activities. So this is what we call long-term plans. So it will last for a longer period of time. Well, in the short term, di ba, supplying the basic needs, the food, shelter, clothing, but, di ba, what's going to happen is that if you are to take a look at it, it will not last long. Di ba, dili man forever that those ex-combatants and their families are going to rely to those, di ba, to the government again, di ba, or any other groups or organization. Kasi it will not last forever. So now they need to be able to incorporate, di ba? This is the incorporation for the long-term reinsertion. In this phase, they will be taught, di ba, how to become financially independent so that they will be able to generate income. So they will be enrolled to those income-generating activities so that they themselves can be able to produce, di ba, or to supply food to them sa ilaha, or let's say to their families. Reinsertion activities comprise vocational training, counseling, credit schemes, and cross-to-lands. Ibig sabihin, they will be taught of different activities, different mga trainings on how they can be able to become financially independent. So that, di ba, Kasi compared to them relying to the government, so diba there are still other aspects that the government needs to address. So dili lang pud kana siya. So now, through this long-term reinsertion, they will be able to, diba, they have already that long-term, diba, they will be able to, let's say, look for jobs, for example, based on, or let's say from what they have learned sa mga vocational trainings. So now they will be able to have their own, di ba? Kaning what we call supply of food, they will be able to what we call this, kaning mga education, di ba? Mga short term, mga medical, mga clothes, shelter. They also have that kaning mga needs nila, in short, will be they will be able to provide it na to themselves and to their family. So this is class, the last topic that we have for the concept of peace. And on our next meeting, we are going to discuss the concept of conflict and war. So now I am going to upload an assignment in relation to the next topic that we will have. So this is our last topic for the concept of peace. So thank you so much and good day everyone. If you have questions about this, you can message me or you can send your concerns or questions in our group chat. So again, thank you so much and good day. Bye-bye.